this journey to find the best homage to internal combustion left standing, the GR Corolla continues to impress. But the Toyota lineup has a more affordable option that could be the better enthusiast car. As I arrive in Dallas, let's address the herd of elephants here. The GR Corolla and the 86 are entirely different. One is all-wheel drive, the other spins the rear. One has 5 doors, the other has 2. One is a Toyota and the other is a Toyota? And there's roughly $7,000 separating the two. Why even bother comparing them? They share key principles. They're basic, driver-focused vehicles. If you're expecting any pampering, go elsewhere. I think there are some people out there like myself who are currently shopping around for a new car that find each approach to performance appealing. So let's put them head-to-head, mano-a-mano, in a state overflowing with cowboys, large white trucks, and parking lots. First, what are the practical trade-offs? Well, feature-wise, the GR Corolla can get fog lights, and the GR86 can get steering responsive headlights. And each of them do come with proximity entry. When it comes to the aesthetics, I do find the curves of the GR86 to make the car look more expensive than it really is. And the duckbill spoiler? The GR Corolla is more polarizing. I'm a sucker for wide hips and intimidation. It's a Frankenstein. It looks like someone kind of just built it in their garage. That said, the stock GR86, especially in Trueno form that will probably be marked up like limited edition Jordans, looks more sick to me. Let me know your thoughts. When it comes to versatility, the winner is clear, but by how much? The trunk of the GR86 is surprising. The seats fold flat, the pass-through is large, and Toyota boasts that you can fit another set of tires in the back. It should make your life a little easier when compared to last week's Miata. Just remember, the back seats are best for backpacks, pets, kids without car seats in a pinch, and adults that said I did a thing. To catch the rest of this series and more fun car content, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you. The GR Corolla has more tight dimensions than its direct competitors, but the back seat is still usable for adults. I'm 6'3", and with someone who's of comparable size in front of me, this still works, even if I'm still cramped. The trunk is also unimpressive for the class, but the space is quite usable. It's even hauled my cooler, food, film, equipment, and camping gear along with clothes for me and my production assistant for 4 weeks. Up front, it's a base Corolla with a few niceties. There's a handbrake that disconnects the rear axle. There's a nicely configurable digital dash, a classy leather-wrapped GR steering wheel, and some mildly aggressive seats. Sure, the now dead Circuit and new Premium Plus further improve some of the rest points and accents, but you're not escaping the entry-level rental turned rally feel. At the very least, this has the simplicity and the features that I want. So the infotainment is easy to use and comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. The seats could have better thigh support, but they work for the long haul, and you can get them as heated along with a heated steering wheel. One last quirk, this is missing a center console, which does mean the storage in here isn't great, but I did get used to its absence a while ago. Hopping into the GR86, you sit considerably lower. The windows out the side and rear are smaller. There's a lot more angles and curves to the design. You feel like you're in a more aggressive car. Plus, I actually think the seats have a little bit better thigh support, and I prefer the more snug bolstering. The Trueno I have here is a limited edition car, and it does actually add some nice leatherette bits, and the red accenting really does spruce this up nicely, but it's rare and now dated, with its replacement being the 2025 Hakone edition, which is similar but switches up the color scheme. It's also limited to just 860 units, so good luck on actually finding one without donating to a dealership. Markups have affected both of these cars, though that's been cooling down as of late. While I do prefer the finish of the plastics in the GR86, the quality is pretty similar to the Corolla, which means It's fine. But the infotainment uses a dressed up version of Subaru's setup that's slower and doesn't come with wireless CarPlay. The sound system, like the Corolla, comes with either 6 or 8 speakers, but if you want more high volume clarity, look to the aftermarket. And because it's a sports car, storage wasn't a main priority here either. Nobody's buying either of these for their bespoke cabins, but the advantage the Corolla holds in versatility is substantial. So, can the GR86 make up for its drawbacks on the road? We have a 2.4 liter Boxer 4, a 6-speed manual transmission, and enough fake engine noise that I still hear it in my sleep. There's almost no point in getting the performance exhaust without disabling that because I can't hear it. Outside of that, this feels like an old recipe. Rear-wheel drive with an LSD means that you have grip when you want it, and when you don't want it, poof, you're sideways. And it's easy to control too. This is such a well-balanced chassis. One might think that with a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, acceleration would be its Achilles. However, thanks to its 7,500 RPM redline, it's potent when you keep it in the right gear. 228 horsepower isn't shabby. In fact, with enough traction and some well-timed shifts, people have gotten these to 60 in the mid 5-second range. For me, the real world made it spin city. With a light foot on the launch and 2 shifts, I got to 60 in 6.3. While you can get this with a kind of tall geared 6-speed automatic, I would definitely recommend the manual transmission if you are able to drive it. The shift throws are short. The clutch pedal has just a brief amount of travel and bites down low. Plus, the shifter is notchy and gives some nice mechanical feedback. However, the transmission as a whole is not as satisfying or smooth as what you would get with some Mazda and Honda shifters. And you don't have auto rev matching. However, I do find the pedals to be pretty well spaced, and the revs themselves jump up at a moment's notice. This is naturally aspirated, so you do need to have realistic expectations. The passing power here, it's better than it used to be. It still feels considerably slower than the GR Corolla, and just like its stepbrother, the 86 sees a few improvements for 25, like revised throttle mapping for even quicker blips, along with retuned shocks and steering to improve response, something that was not remotely an issue. But its disadvantage in speed is soon lost when we hit some corners. This has flat handling due to Subaru's obsession with having a low center of gravity, and Toyota's choice of suspension. It does make the car feel eager to rotate, and the speedy, precise steering gives the GR86 a sharpness that the GR Corolla can't quite achieve. The steering rack of the GR86 is probably the most communicative that Toyota has used since the MR2. It builds up naturally in weight, and I also think it is weighted well. It's on the light side so that it still feels playful, which really goes along with the lightweight, quick-reacting personality of the Toyota Coupe. Even over very uneven pavement, this is poised. And as the speed climbs, this still stays confident. It might not be as entertaining as a Miata, but compared to almost anything else, this is more of a hoot on a back road. Toyota also offers the Performance Package, which comes standard with the Trueno. This includes SOX dampeners, and it grants you Brembo brakes as well, which are designed to stand up to the heat of track driving. And it is remarkably capable, especially on an autocross course, where it is so much fun and feels right at home. For hardcore enthusiasts, this is a great pick, and as a commuter, it's surprisingly reasonable. It's still a sports car. It's going to explain the road surface to your spine and legs, but it is more forgiving than I was thinking. Even over some larger potholes, it's not too bad. It soaks up most pavement without added drama, and it is more than able to be a daily. It's a little less serene once you take it up onto the highway. There's quite a bit of road noise. Here's what the equipment says at 65 miles per hour, with revs around 2,800 RPM. And if you're expecting the GR Corolla to be quieter, you would be right. Even though this is by no means the optimal luxury cruiser, road and tire noise are quiet enough to really let you enjoy your music at highway speeds, something I really appreciate. But that's less important than what's underneath the hood. We're gonna have a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline 3 with 300 horsepower. Not only does it have forced induction torque, it's eager to spin toward its slightly lower rev limit. And then there's the transmission. You get a little bit of feedback through the lever as it enters each gate. It also comes with a numb clutch, this time with a little bit more length and heft than the 86. Yet its bite is more predictable. It's easier for beginners, but maybe a little less rewarding in day-to-day use. Regardless, this has excellent gearing, and it's just as easy to snap through the gears at the limit. Standard all-wheel drive means that this can get to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds in similar conditions to what I tested the GR86. But now I want to see if I can beat that car with another person and a more clutch-friendly launch. 3,000 RPM. Even with the handicaps, the Corolla gets to 60 a half second quicker. And it continues to pull after that. Outside of maybe having the feedback that you get with the Miata transmission, I wouldn't change a thing about this powertrain. The drivetrain, on the other hand, has some missed potential. So this is a good setup. The traction is great. You can switch between a front bias and up to 70% of torque to the rear, though it doesn't hold that kind of torque split. But Toyota really needs to update this with a better cooling system, because many owners have reported that during hot laps, the all-wheel drive system gets too hot, which will have the car go into front-wheel drive mode, which really isn't a problem on a back road no matter what mode you engage. For 2025, Toyota did make a host of slight improvements to the GR Corolla, including additional cooling for the engine, but no such treatment for the all-wheel drive. Instead, they played around with the naming scheme and function of the modes. They also added rebound springs, retuned the suspension, adjusted the rear mounting points, bumped the torque by 22 pound-feet, and added an 8-speed automatic that appears to be much better than the GR86's auto. These changes are noteworthy. I'll drive one soon enough, but I don't see these enhancements closing the gap in twisty road entertainment between the Corolla and 86. Driving them back to back, it's not quite as flat through corners as the GR86. It's also less reactive. The GR86 just feels lighter and I think more playful. And this just can't match that feel of rear-wheel drive. Even in the 70% rear mode, it can't replicate that kind of sensation. However, the GR Corolla does a better job over uneven pavement and imperfect surfaces at keeping the car planted to the ground. It feels a little bit more secure to me. And maybe some of that is also due to the fact that when I want to put the power down, I have all-wheel drive to do so on unfamiliar real roads. This does hold an advantage in my eye. On the track, the story is a little bit different. The GR86 is phenomenal in that setting, whereas the Corolla, once you start to approach the limits, does lose some of its bite, though it regains it if you upgrade the tires. The stock Michelin Pilot Sport 4s might work fine on the lighter 86, but for the heavier Corolla, it's a disadvantage, which is why after my tires began to scream after 14,000 miles, I put on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. While it still tends to understeer at the limit, the chassis reacts nicely to throttle and braking inputs, even allowing for some rotation. The stoppers on either car feel firm and powerful too. At Sonoma Raceway, the Corolla's all-wheel drive and stability quickly replaced my nerves with confidence. But when you're not flogging the vehicle, the ride can be harsh. It pokes and prods at you. It's not the worst that I've driven. It does a decent job of smoothing out the highway, but over any medium to large impacts, it will really test your commitment to the high-performance lifestyle. It also comes with Toyota's Safety Sense 3, which is a far superior system to what you'll find in the Subaru, Toyota, which has a much more annoying lane departure warning system. And no lane centering whatsoever. Each do have adaptive cruise, and if you want to cruise for a long time, each have been reliable so far, but there are some caveats. The GR Corolla hasn't had much in terms of common issues. It's too early to have confidence here, but things like interior rattles and the all-wheel drive overheating on the track seem to be the most consistent complaints. My car does have a few rattles, and the infotainment has been boot looping randomly as of late too. I actually had to get the infotainment replaced soon after filming. Indirectly, what is more concerning to me are the 2 fires that were recently reported. Car combustion can happen for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes it's not because of a defect, and they're so rare that I'm not worried of catching any flames. However, denying a warranty claim and citing speed as the reason is a bit moronic on a car fitted with tires rated for 186 miles per hour and a free track day. There could be more to these cases than the news outlets have portrayed, so I'll try to get a hold of Toyota and update you guys if I hear back. The GR86 is based on an older platform. The biggest problems of its predecessor were related to the clutch and transmission in the first few years following its release. Any small miscellaneous complaints with the second-gen GR86 have been overshadowed by oil starvation. On the track, some people have blown up their engines under hard cornering and elevation changes. In fact, there have been enough people to report this to where it is a fear of mine if I were to buy one and run some stickier tires and track it. However, a disclaimer is needed here because many people have taken them out with no problems whatsoever. It's just a scary flaw that is possible, and I really hope Subaru addresses it. There's also excess RTV falling into the oil pan, but that's not what seems to be causing the failures. Both cars come with direct and port fuel injection, so at least carbon buildup isn't a worry. While we're talking running costs, let's talk gas mileage. These two have similar EPA ratings, but I can personally vouch for the Toyota surpassing 30 miles per gallon if you go easy on it. After driving the Miata last week, it reminded me of its sensible flaws, especially on the highway. The GR86 on the surface seems like a happy medium. Fun, rear-wheel drive characteristics with just enough versatility to live lavishly. Maybe lavish isn't the right word, but I could daily this no problem. The Miata is still more magical, but the GR86, disregarding straight-line speed and confidence, bests the GR Corolla in handling chops, communication, and fun without making the same sacrifices as the Miata. It also costs less than the hatchback. If you don't have a family and your main priority is a smile, I'd go GR86. This is easier for me to recommend to more enthusiasts. The GR Corolla, on the other hand, feels more distinct. Not that the GR86 isn't special, but the Corolla is an econobox monster. It's fast, it's ultra stable, feels at home anywhere, especially when you put it on the tires it should have had from the factory, and it does all of this while being versatile. Yeah, the back seat isn't big and neither is the trunk, but I've begun to appreciate Toyota's compromise between interior space and tidy exterior dimensions. And because it's based on a run-of-the-mill new car, the tech is more refined too. If you love the old Japanese rally homologation cars but need something new, you'll love the GR Corolla like I have. So, which is my choice? While I am considering many more cars for this series, if it came down to these two, I'd buy the GR86. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my channel members and supporters who have helped make this series come to life.